What's up, you guys? It is Jack, back filming another video for you guys. So this week's video is going to be a storytime video. I used to make storytime videos all the time on YouTube, and then I literally mined the last story that I could possibly tell out of my life. But then I took quite a long break from YouTube, and a few things came up that I could make storytime videos out of, but I don't want this to be a storytime channel. I don't want people to get too used to story times on this channel. The reason I'm telling this story mainly is because it happened about 6 months ago. I have enough distance from it that I can laugh at it. I think it's a super relatable story. If you are a gay man who tries to date modern day, I feel like you will relate to this. I also think there's a lot to be said about this story and how we date as gay men. And also, I just think it's a dumb story. So without further ado, if you're interested in this storytime video, stick around and we're gonna get right into it, guys. So you guys, this was after the pandemic kind of really was over. Don't come for me for saying that, by the way, if you're like, the pandemic is still happening. Listen, this was when the world returned to relatively normal function and people were going out and I had started dating. This was about like 3 months into me starting to date again. So I met this guy on a genuine dating app, okay? This wasn't Grindr, this wasn't Jacked, this wasn't whatever the hell, Smelly or whatever. There's like so many random apps, like I don't even know, is Woof one of them? They're always named after like animals because apparently we as gay men are like carnal or something. But this wasn't a hookup app, this was a dating app, right? He was a little bit older than me, and I don't really care about age all that much. Like I have a huge range when it comes to age. The only reason I'm including the fact that he was older is because I think when I date younger guys, they tend to like to talk a lot before meeting, whereas older guys, they just like meeting you at a bar relatively quickly. So me and him did not talk much, okay? And then we agreed to meet up at a bar. Let me just say before I get into it, this was not a bar down the street. Like I didn't hopscotch out of my apartment and, oh look, I'm at the bar. I had to Uber about 40 minutes to get to this bar. It ended up being like $110 or something round trip because Ubers in LA, especially when gas was really high, were really expensive. And it's just like, normally, like I'm blessed when it comes to finances. Like I'm not over here being like, well, look at this itemized bill. This date went bad and I paid all this money. Like whatever happens, happens, you know? Just because I spent a lot of money getting there doesn't mean that I expect the date to go a certain way. It is what it is, but I'm just including that because this was a journey. Okay, it wasn't a journey, but I mean, I set aside a lot of time, and had I realized how fickle, if you saw the title of this video, had I realized how fickle this whole thing was, honestly, this could have been avoided if you just sent a 3-second text. You know what I mean? Asking. But anyway, we ended up meeting up. The date was not bad in any capacity. Like, I think the guy was charming. I think he was intelligent. I think I was attracted to him. I think he was attracted to me. We'll get into that later on. But yeah, I don't have any problem with the first 99% of the date. Normally, I don't like the first date to be super long. Like, I don't like, it's hour 8 of the first date. Like, it's just, I think you need to have kind of like a short date at the beginning, but your boy had some, what was it, starfruit seltzer? It was something, pickled pears? It was something weird, like something very LA, like pickled pear, hard seltzer, or cider, or whatever. I had a few, you know, so we ended up going to a restaurant across the street. We hung out all together for about 5 hours, okay? Before I ordered the Uber, he asked me if I wanted to see him again. Like, he was like, how are you feeling? And I was like, oh yeah, like I would like to hang out with you again. I like see potential here. And he agreed. So I was like, cool, date number 2. It's not set in stone, but like it's lined up. We're on the same page. We're both vibing with each other, right? So I ordered the Uber. The Uber was about 10 minutes away. In those 10 minutes, those 10 minutes were pivotal, you know? Everything fell apart and collapsed in those 10 minutes. Long story short, he wanted to make out after we left the restaurant while I waited for the Uber. Very unpopular fact about me, I don't like kissing on a first date. I know everyone's gonna roll their eyes and scream and throw things at me because they're gonna be like, woo. Listen, I'm not trying to be the Virgin Mary over here. It's just that it's just the way I date, okay? I like to separate that physical stuff from romantic stuff, at least for the first date, just because I think it's a lot to try to see if you're physically compatible with somebody at the same time you're trying to see if you're like emotionally and romantically compatible. That being said, I know some people are insecure if you don't kiss on the first date, so like I go in open-minded. I'm not like rigid where I'm like, dear, we touch hands. Like, I mean, we've all been on dates that have gone a lot beyond kissing. So like, I'm not a saint over here. It's just how I tend to navigate first dates. So anyway, he wanted to make out, right? So, I mean, I did too. Like, I wanted to do more than make out, but I tried to set my carnal desires aside. But anyway, it was fine. But let me set the picture for you guys so you guys can picture and visualize this in your head. We walked about 25 feet away, like behind the bar, to this like intersection. And it was a 4-way intersection. So there was 4 stop signs on each corner where like this was a busy road. This wasn't like, oh, well, the car passed by every like 3 minutes. Like there were like 2 or 3 cars stopped at each stop sign waiting to turn. Like we were being illuminated by flashing turn signals. And this is where apparently it was the right, it just didn't, to me it didn't feel right. Mainly I feel like it felt rushed where it was like, God, your Uber's gonna be here in 5 minutes, we need to make out. Like it didn't feel like a natural, organic, you know, progression of things. Like it just wasn't, I wouldn't have chose that. But anyway, that's where he decided to start making out with me. And also this man was taller than me, okay? I'm 5'10", I'm not short by any means, but like this guy was tall. So I had Converse shoes on. Converse shoes are uncomfortable as fuck anyway. But I was like standing on tiptoe just to like reach this guy's mouth. Like, you know, like ballet shoes? That's what it looked like. I was perpendicular with the ground trying to reach this guy's lips. So at one point he just picked me up and I was straddling him at a 4-way intersection on a Tuesday. Which, you guys, straddling a man isn't really my vibe. Like, it just isn't. When maybe, like, let me know how you feel about this. That is a lot. Like, it's, as somebody who's like, oh, well, maybe we'll peck on the cheek on the first date, to go to, like, full-on straddling, that to me is, like, The Notebook. Like, oh my gosh, we are so passionate, I just jumped in your arms. Like, that to me is like Titanic. Like, the ship is going down, and I jumped off the lifeboat because I love you, now I'm straddling you. Like, it just didn't feel like that for me. We had literally just sat calmly 25 feet away at a table, and we got up and walked over, and now we're like gone with the winding, as if one of us is going off to war. It just was odd to me. I felt like a sim. I don't know. I don't really play Sims. You know, like Sims, like I imagine they like get up and casually walk over, and then bam, it's like sex or something. That's how I felt, right? So anyway, I was straddling this man on the street corner. It wasn't really my vibe, but it was happening. But what annoyed me was at one point, like, we broke away from kissing just because, like, I had straddled my last straddle that night, and I had said, like, oh, these cars probably think we're like crazy. Like, for reference, I was like, oh, these cars probably think we're like crazy. I don't even know how I said it. I wasn't like, oh, look at all these cars looking at us, oh my god, let's get back to the restaurant. It was just like a joke. And he looked at me and was like, you know, you need to not care so much what people think. And I was like, this is not a Hallmark movie, sir. You are not here to enlighten me that I am too uptight and I care too much about what people think. Like, this is not a makeout beneath the mistletoe at the company Christmas party. This is a 4-way intersection. And granted, like, maybe he didn't understand my humor. It's fine. A lot of people don't understand my humor right away. But I pointed it out because, A, it was true. Like, the people probably thought we were nuts. B, I thought it would be funny. And C, another thing you need to know about me is, like, you guys, I have a deviated septum. Like, that's me trying to breathe in through my nose. I can't do it. So when I'm making out with somebody for 5 fucking minutes, like, there is a time limit before I just run out of air and I die. Like, people want to make out, like, where it's like this marathon where it's like, oh, that whole episode of Stranger Things went by? Oh, I didn't even notice. Like, I am dying if we are making out for more than like 5 minutes. I can't breathe unless I'm literally breathing in your pure carbon dioxide emissions through my mouth. I cannot breathe. So sometimes I need to like take a step back, and like that's when we'll do like a nice like mwah, holding hands, hug, like that kind of thing, talking. I'm sorry, it's just what I need to do. Anyway, after the kissing, we ended up, he started talking about top or bottoming, which this is another reason I don't like to kiss on a first date. There's nothing wrong with kissing on a first date. There's nothing wrong with asking this question. But for me, it opens that door and we start talking about other things like sex, and then we start making huge decisions based on that. He asked me if I was a top or bottom. I genuinely feel like I'm on a tightrope at this point when this question's asked of me. Like, I don't know what to say. Like, I feel like I'm on Who Wants to Be a Millionaire, and I have no lifelines. Like, I don't know. People seem to take this question so damn seriously, and if I'm being entirely honest, when it comes to me, I do not know how to answer that question. Like, there are people who I don't want to do that with at all. I would just rather do something else. I would still marry them, still be with them, but it's like, anally, like, that's not the big draw for me. Other people, it's the opposite. It's just different people draw out different desires in me. I'm not like a copy and paste person when it comes to that. I'm divergent. You know, I'm not like everyone else. I don't want to be like what is the saying? But anyway, that's just who I am. So like, I never know how to answer this question. And I also feel like it's a trick question a lot of the times. Like I'll be like, I'm a top, and people will be like, ha, wrong answer. You're a bottom. But if you would have said you were a bottom, I would have been turned off because I secretly want you to be a top, but end up bottoming after a wrestling match. Like, it's just, listen, I'm just over here. You all let me know what you want. Until then, I'll be here. I'm just looking to build something with somebody from the ground up, romantically, physically. I don't go in with a laundry list of sexual demands. And this man didn't have a sexual list of demands in his hands, but he had one in his brain because I told him, I was like, honestly, like, I don't really, if I had to choose, I would prefer topping just because it's easier, but like, it's different for every relationship. Whatever happens, happens. Like, I imagine in a relationship, we're kind of doing a little bit of everything, right? If it's a long-term relationship. But anyway, when I said that, everything, well, this is kind of a dramatic thing. But like, it felt like a cartoon to me. Like, it felt like a Simpsons episode. Like, everything came to a screeching halt. Like, the cars at the intersection were like, like screeching to a halt. This man's face changed. Like, he looked surprised, I'll be entirely honest. Like, you would have thought that I had summoned Exodia the Forbidden One. Like, it was a moment of like shock, which, listen, maybe I come across as a big greedy bottom. I don't know how I come across, but anyway, he was surprised and he said, oh, maybe we're not sexually compatible then, because apparently he was 100% a top, right? At that point, I was like, I mean, I'm not anything really. Whatever happens, happens. I imagine you're gonna like explore when you're with somebody. But anyway, the date recovered in those final 30 seconds, I guess, and my Uber showed up. We said goodbye, we kissed, I got in the Uber, went home. When I got home, I texted him and I was like, oh, thanks for hanging out. And that's when, bam, I got that beautiful text, getting dumped, being like, hey, it was like this long thing where it was like, oh, like, I had a great time, but I'm not sure if we're sexually compatible, so maybe we should just be friends. And I was like, listen, it's fine. I mean, I'm being polite over here saying it's fine. I think you're a little bit wrong if that's how you enter dating personally. But for me, it is what it is. Like I said, I'm trying to build something individually with an individual person. I'm not walking in with expectations. But if truly that is a deal breaker for you, that's fine. Like, you know, it is what it is. Maybe I wish it would have been said beforehand, because I would have, like, we would have avoided the whole song and dance. Like, I would have done that whole song and dance with somebody else, right? I would have rather honestly done anything else than go on the date. You know, I have animes to watch. I have Spanish to learn on Duolingo. I have OnlyFans pictures to take. I have Wano workout vlogs to watch. I would rather just sit there and eat chips all night, like anything else. Like, I was not enriched by this date, you know? I was pouring. Like, that's not even a word, but like, that's what I was. So, you know, but it is what it is. I guess that's dating in 2023 for a 30-year-old man. Well, I was 29 at the time, but if it's an omen for how dating's gonna be in my 30s, gotta buckle on up. But if you are like this man, which it's fine if you are, maybe just words of wisdom from somebody with another opinion. I don't think guys are like dittos that can just morph into, you know, whatever you want them to be sexually, romantically, you know, and I get it, like, you need to be compatible, right? But I think oftentimes, like personally for me, I would rather be single my whole life and die alone at 90 than, you know, cram myself into a little box so somebody can maybe fit me in their life, you know? So that's just me. But anyway, thank you guys so much for watching this video. I love you guys so much. Let me know your thoughts. And yeah, follow me on Twitter, official.cam. Instagram is jmeridu. Also, if you want to check out my Instagram, or not my Instagram, my OnlyFans, that will be linked below as well. I make content on there for you guys, and I respond to messages and stuff like that. So I love you guys so much. Thank you so much for watching this video, and I will see you guys next time. Let's just do a flex really quick. Yes, this shirt was not revealing my muscles as I would have liked. But anyway, what is happening here? Anyway, I love you guys so much, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye, guys.